Hi, guys. I realize I always do that. I'm like, woo. It's just the screen. It's like, wow, there I am. Here we are. So, this next lesson was so present for me last night. Lesson 34. I could see peace instead of this. I could see peace instead of this. It's so interesting because this line, peace of mind is clearly an internal matter, was really present with me yesterday. Now, look, many of us that are in the Return to Center, who are moving through the Course in Miracles lessons, who are seeking more clarity, more centeredness, more peacefulness, a sense of self, all of the good things, we realize that we're the ones that have to make the shifts, right? But that peace as an internal state is such a powerful statement because we can tell when we're not. That's the thing about cats like us. We have awareness. That's powerful. A lot of people don't have awareness, and that's not a judgment, it's just an observation. It's like I feel like this could be right or wrong, but it's like this sense that everybody's kind of like going through the motions. They're in their lives. If you have awareness, you have desire for healing and for vision. When you have awareness of your internal state, you realize that peace is up to you. And this is how this showed up for me last night. It's a little personal. In my marriage, I we have had many, I think, like a lot of us, ups and downs. But we've been in a really good space for a couple months, like alleluia good space. Like thank the good Lord, we're on the other side of whatever that was that seemed to last forever. And there's been this like ease in communication. There's just been so much good stuff. And it's been 15 years. So we've worked hard for it. We have separated, we've almost divorced. I mean, he moved across to another country. I mean, there was just a lot. We have two small kids. Anyway, I digress. The point I'd like to make is that yesterday there was a moment when everything seemed to crumble in on itself. The details are not so important, although it was something very mundane. We were organizing the house. It was like spring cleaning mode. It was like a really sunny, warm day. Kids were out on bikes. I mean, we are coming out of a super long winter. At the time of this recording, it's March 9th, and it's been rough. And so we're organizing things and we're cleaning. This is something that I love. I thrive in this environment of changing it up, changing where the furniture is, moving stuff around. I love it. I love to move shit around. And I didn't realize that he was exhausted or not in the mood to do it anymore. And so I asked him to come over to the studio and help me move this big table, whatever. So he comes and he seemed to be in a good mood. He was himself. So I didn't catch on that he was not into it. And then I'm going to cry just even saying what happened. And I wasn't going to tell the story, but here I am. And maybe it's useful for you. That's really what I desire. He was moving this table that had this orchid on it, and the orchid was growing a baby little shoot. And I've been talking to this orchid and loving this orchid because I had a different one that was not happy in this space and, just was not happy. But this orchid was growing a baby. So I've been taking really good care of it. And I had moved it a couple times knowing that, when an orchid is growing, don't move it, don't touch it, don't mess with it. But I was moving the furniture. So I was really careful with it. Well, he was not careful with it. And he knocked it over, and there was a aerial silks class going on, and it fell to the ground and the shoot broke off. And immediately I started to cry like I I mean the deepest grief and pain. Like it was deep. He felt terrible about it. And I said to him, I didn't realize you were angry because that is the energy of anger. It's well, it's not, Shiva's not necessarily anger, but it's the energy of destruction. What was happening for him is that he had a lot of energy happening, a lot of things that he hadn't spoken, a lot of concern about this or that, his job, he's traveling, he's got all this stuff going on, and he wasn't in the highest vibration. And when we're not in the highest vibration, we make a mess of things, especially when we pretend that we are. So I'm having an emotional meltdown. There's a class going on. He's feeling really bad. Then I don't want him to help me at all because I go into this mindset that it's a privilege to have a yoga studio. It's an honor to be of service in this space. I mean, we have so many beautiful things. I can't wait to welcome some of you to this space sometime for something, a training, a retreat. Anyway, a couple hours went by. He took one of the kids to volleyball and blah, blah, blah. Get home, I'm preparing some food for dinner. And we start to talk about it a little bit. And it's still not totally resolved. I'm still harboring a little bit of anger. He's harboring a little bit of guilt. It's a terrible recipe. Well, I heard, this is why it's so powerful, ACIM. I could see peace instead of this. I saw how my mind was hyper focused, analytical, and eating up this hiccup in our day to prove to me that I didn't deserve happiness, that I didn't deserve, a peaceful marriage, that the things that I desire, I can't have. This was the dialogue. This is the critical mind. This is what it does. But when the christened thought occurred, I could see peace instead of this. There was space for a moment. My ego wanted to grab it and say, no, you can't. You can't trust peace. You can't trust goodness. You can't trust love. But I could see peace instead of this, was on the record. And in that moment, I had the awareness to pause and to say, I could see peace instead of this. And that's the message I'd like to leave for you guys today in lesson 33 of A Course in Miracles. I'm going to read it in a second here. Peace of mind is an internal matter. The fact that Danny was not in a peaceful state of mind was an internal matter that created a reality where he destroyed something that was precious to me. And then needed to go through the contrast, because that's where we live, in contrast, of guilt, of pain, of hurting the one he loved because of his unprocessed emotions, his lack in that moment of seeing peace instead of this, whatever that train of thought that was going on in his head that was keeping him outside the present moment, which in his true nature would have cared for the plan, would have moved things carefully, wouldn't have been huffing and puffing. You see what I'm saying? So the internal state that we are in is creating what is happening on the outside. And it happens in little and big ways. I could see peace instead of this. So I'm going to read the lesson now because there's some more goodness in here. And if there's any extra reflections, I'll share them at the end. The idea for today begins to describe the conditions that prevail in the other way of seeing. Peace of mind is clearly an internal matter. It must begin with your own thoughts and then extend outward. It is from your peace of mind that a peaceful perception of the world arises. 3 longer practice periods are required for today's exercises. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening are advised, with an additional 1 to be undertaken at any time in between what seems most conducive to readiness. All applications should be done with eyes closed. It is your inner world to which the applications of today's idea should be made. Some 5 minutes of mind searching are required for each of the longer practice periods. Search your mind for fear thoughts, anxiety provoking situations, offending personalities or events, or anything else about which you are harboring unloving thoughts. Note them all casually, repeating the idea for today slowly as you watch them arise in your mind, and let each one go to be replaced by the next. If you begin to experience difficulty in thinking of specific subjects, continue to repeat the idea to yourself in an unhurried manner without applying to anything in particular. Be sure, however, not to make any specific exclusions. The shorter applications are to be frequent and made whenever you feel your peace of mind is threatened in any way. The purpose is to protect yourself from temptation throughout the day. If a specific form of temptation arises in your awareness, the exercise should take this form. I could see peace in this situation instead of what I see now. If the inroads on your peace of mind take the form of more generalized adverse emotions, such as depression, anxiety, or worry, use the idea in its original form. If you find you need more than one application of today's idea to help you change your mind in any specific context, try to take several minutes and devote them to repeating the idea until you feel some sense of relief. It will help you if you tell yourself specifically, I can replace my feelings of depression, anxiety, or worry, or my thoughts about this situation, personality, or event with peace. So there are a couple things I want to mention here. I love how the Course here is saying, if a specific form of temptation arises in your awareness. So the temptation the Course is speaking to is the temptation to marinate in anxiety and depression. Listen, guys, I go through it too. I mean, there was serious long stretches of life where I was on the moon. I was on my high flying disc. Está bien. Everything was all good all the time. And there have been times in life, most recently, that have not been that way. Heavy things have happened, events and circumstances, and it has been difficult. And yet, it's up to us. That is the magic of this reality, that we are at choice. So we can take the form of temptation. We can bite, that juicy ice cream that is called anxiety and judgment and regret. And we can go deep. And a lot of us do dance with the darkness. But it is in the rising, in the decision to choose peace instead of this, to replace my thoughts and my feelings of whatever it is so powerful. And it's saying you want to keep repeating it until you feel some sense of relief. And as I was going to sleep last night, there was still some residual ick in the relationship with Danny. Like there was still some stuff in there, but I just kept repeating it. I just kept repeating it. I could see peace instead of this. I could. I really could. And I have to say, I slept peacefully, and I know he did too. We snuggled in, we set it down, and decided to see peace instead of this. Isn't that wow? Whew, so good. All right, there was one more thing I wanted to say before I let you go for today. Where did it go? Oh, note them all casually. So it's saying in the practice period. So when you take a few moments to yourself, and that's really what the course is about, especially in the workbook lessons. You take a few minutes in the morning, take a few minutes before you go to bed, and during the day, if you can create a minute or so to practice the idea. Sometimes I'm practicing it all the time. Sometimes I'll go the whole day and forget it. That's just part of being human. But I love that here it's saying, searching your mind for fear thoughts, anxiety provoking situations, because this is what I'm using Danny as an example, but I do it and we all do it. this is what he wasn't doing. He didn't have the awareness at the time that he was running programs. So if he had paused and said, wow, I'm running. I'm wow, look at all these fear thoughts passing by. Look at all these anxiety provoking situations. I'm going to get on a plane. I've got to pack. I'm flying I've got to cross the ocean. I've got to do all these things. Oh, this offending personality. I have this conversation to have at work, or I have this, or I have that. It's saying to look at them casually, which is very different than the way we generally look at anxiety provoking thoughts. There's an urgency, there's a holding, there's a no. But the course is saying just look at them casually. And I think that's really kind of an interesting recommendation here. Yeah. Let them go to be replaced by the next. Happy practicing. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. I could see peace instead of this.